In the shadow of the pyramids, under the relentless gaze of the Egyptian sun, a man lay dying. His name was Jacob, and he was the father of 12 sons, one of whom would become a legend. This man, Joseph, had risen from the depths of betrayal and slavery to become the viceroy of Egypt, a position of nearly unmatched power. As Jacob took his last breath, a profound silence fell over the room, a silence that would soon be shattered by the sobs of his children and the wails of a nation. This moment, the death of Jacob, marked the end of an era and the beginning of a new chapter in the story of the Hebrew people. Joseph, the favored son of Jacob, had always been a man of contradictions. He was both a dreamer and a pragmatist, a visionary who could interpret the signs of the future and a statesman who could navigate the complexities of the present. When his father died, Joseph was overcome with a flood of emotions: grief, love, and a deep sense of responsibility. He flung himself upon his father's face, wept over him, and kissed him, gestures that were as much a part of his character as his ability to interpret dreams. These actions were not just a display of raw emotion, but a testament to the depth of his relationship with his father. Joseph was not just a son, he was a devoted son, one who had been shaped by his father's teachings and his own experiences of hardship and triumph. The death of Jacob was not just a personal loss for Joseph. It was a loss for the entire nation of Egypt. Jacob was more than just the patriarch of a family. He was a figure of immense respect and importance. Joseph, recognizing the magnitude of this loss, ordered his servants, who were skilled physicians, to embalm his father's body. This was a process that took 40 days, a period that was both a sign of respect and a practical necessity, given the long journey that lay ahead. The Egyptians, too, mourned for 70 days, a period that, while perhaps exaggerated, underscored the significance of Jacob's death in the eyes of the Egyptian people. Joseph's next move was crucial. He needed to secure permission from Pharaoh to leave Egypt and bury his father in the land of Canaan, as Jacob had requested. This was no small request, for it meant taking a significant portion of the Egyptian court and a large contingent of the Hebrew people on a long and potentially dangerous journey. Joseph, ever the diplomat, approached Pharaoh's household with great deference, explaining his father's dying wish and the importance of fulfilling it. Pharaoh, recognizing the gravity of the situation and the loyalty of his viceroy, granted Joseph's request. The procession that set out for Canaan was a grand affair. It included not only Joseph and his family, but also a large number of Egyptian officials, chariots, and horsemen. This display of power and respect was both a tribute to Jacob and a show of force, ensuring that the Hebrews would be protected on their journey. The route they took was not the most direct, perhaps to avoid potential conflicts with the Canaanites or to prefigure the future exodus of the Hebrew people. When they arrived at Goren ha-Atad, a place across the Jordan, they performed a 7-day mourning ritual, a period of intense grief and reflection that left a lasting mark on the land, which became known as Abel Mizraim, the mourning of Egypt. After the burial, Joseph and his entourage returned to Egypt. But the death of Jacob had left a profound impact on his family, particularly his brothers. They were haunted by their past actions, the betrayal and sale of Joseph, and they feared that Joseph might now seek revenge. They approached Joseph with a message, claiming that their father had left a charge for them to ask Joseph for forgiveness. Joseph, who had always been a man of deep faith, wept at their words. He understood the weight of their guilt and the fear it had generated. But he also knew that their actions, while evil, had been part of a larger plan orchestrated by God. He reassured them, saying, "Do not fear, for am I instead of God? While you meant evil toward me, God meant it for good, so as to bring about at this very time keeping many people alive." Joseph's words were a powerful statement of forgiveness and divine providence. He recognized that his rise to power, his ability to save Egypt and his family from famine, and even his survival of the betrayals of his brothers, were all part of God's plan. This moment marked a turning point in the relationship between Joseph and his brothers. They were no longer divided by fear and suspicion, but united by a shared understanding of their place in God's larger story. Joseph lived to be 110 years old, a life that was both a reflection of his status in Egypt and a fulfillment of the divine plan. He saw the third generation of his descendants from Ephraim and the sons of Machir, son of Manasseh, born on his knees, a gesture that symbolized his role as both a father and a protector. Before he died, Joseph made the sons of Israel swear an oath that when God delivered them from Egypt, they would take his bones with them and bury them in the land promised to their ancestors. This oath was a powerful symbol of the enduring faith and hope of the Hebrew people, a promise that would be fulfilled generations later in the Exodus from Egypt. Joseph's death marked the end of an era, but it also laid the groundwork for the future. The Hebrew people, now a large and growing community in Egypt, would one day rise up and leave the land of their bondage, fulfilling the promise made to Abraham and the oath sworn by Joseph. The book of Genesis, which began with the creation of the world and the stories of the patriarchs, ends with the image of a body in a coffin, a moment of closure that sets the stage for the beginning of a new journey. The book of Exodus, which follows, tells the story of the Hebrew people's exodus from Egypt, their journey through the wilderness, and their eventual arrival in the Promised Land. It is a story of freedom, faith, and the fulfillment of God's promises. In the end, Joseph's life and legacy serve as a powerful reminder of the enduring nature of faith and the transformative power of forgiveness. His story, one of the most compelling in the Bible, continues to inspire and challenge readers to this day. The journey from the shadow of the pyramids to the Promised Land is a journey of faith, a journey that began with the death of Jacob and the words of his son Joseph, a journey that continues to resonate through the ages.